Is Nini, Yosi, and Jasabi. Welcome to El HangOut Zone. We're happy to be with you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for all your support. And today we are with a very interesting topic. Like we said last time, this topic is one of them topics that you could talk about for a lifetime because it's something that affects us every time. So, Nini, you want to present the topic?
Sure, I don't have a problem with that. So, guys, as we spoke about last episode, we are going to talk about relationships, but relationships part 2.
Oh.
We are going to touch on a few pointers that we didn't get to touch, clarify a few pointers that
Wait. She's very, very, very upset because she thinks that we all think she don't like fit guys.
Because it was worded not how it should have been when I get thrown under the bus.
I just want to make this clear that this is exactly what us guys talk about. Girls don't know what they want.
He just had to throw that in there.
One episode she doesn't like fit, man. The next one she's like, oh, you're misinterpreted. It is what it is.
No, the thing is, for the miscommunication that was portrayed last video, there was some editing issues going on. That's why that was portrayed there. I did not mean that I don't like fit guys. Like, I'm going to put it out there. It's not that I don't like fit guys. It's just my attraction isn't like, I don't turn around and look at the fit guy first. Like, oh, like.
So then why bring it up?
That's my guy. I didn't bring it up. You did.
I did. Yeah.
What is going on?
All right, present the topic, please.
Okay, so we're going to talk about relationships part 2. What we didn't get to speak about or emphasize in the last episode. So, now that I cleared up that part, I would like to start with what we were speaking about a little earlier, were soul ties. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people always go back to, oh, what is a soul tie? Oh, is this something that's more on the Christian level? No. A soul tie, I feel like it affects you physically, mentally, emotionally. It doesn't only have to be about sex. It can be in any other context as well. So, first and foremost, a soul tie is more like your...
I'll say it's more like a spiritual tie. Because remember, spiritual doesn't have to do with religion. Spirit, it's the spiritual realm. I know a lot of you know about this, but it's really out there. It doesn't have to be you Christian so you believe in that. It's just out there. Something that affects you. So then that's where the soul tie comes in. Because it's like the same thing around there.
Yes. So soul ties can be, okay, for example, in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, what can cause you a soul tie could be, I will never love someone like I love you. That alone makes it a soul tie. Like,
so you mean like saying it?
Yeah, like saying it, declaring it. Like if you're in a relationship with someone and you're like, I can never love someone like you. You have to break those type of ties.
Damn, you got me thinking. I gotta think about these ties.
Yeah, and okay, so that's on a worded level. So imagine how many ties you have with someone that you've had plenty of like sexual relationships with.
Yeah,
that's so like you are unifying two different people who are totally different, and then you add the component of having sex, and then poof. You guys are like intertwined somehow, mentally, emotionally, physically, and in whatever other context, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's another type of soul tie. Then you have like a mental soul tie where you guys learn the same thing, like in a relationship of a friendship where you can read each other's minds, where you can constantly vibe quickly with one another, where you, like I was telling your Savi and Yosa did before, where you constantly deposit affirmations to the person and you feel good being with that person, even if it's just sitting down and you guys are breathing in the same place, but you're not saying anything, but you feel good. Like that's
that's a very interesting topic because that you could go also with the whole energy talk. You know, a lot of Christians don't believe in this. I do, because for me, it's just a different vocabulary. People call it energy. I just call it spirit. It's the same thing. This guy had this negative energy, bad spirits.
Right.
He has good energy, good spirit. So for me, it's the same thing. So I feel like there's always, like you said right now, you don't have to really talk or go, but sometimes just being near a person, you can feel their energy.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, that affects the way you look at that person also. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily and you're in a relationship already, but it, you know, like you were saying also, you as a co-worker, you know, somebody in school, maybe you could feel certain vibes, especially if you're very centered yourself. You could actually feel like your ambiance, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, ambiance. Yeah. So another thing that can tie you, I feel like, to soul ties, that sometimes we don't even think about it because it's not something that you're out there like, oh, I got a soul tie or something like that. Like when you dream of a person constantly and they come up in your
dreams, in your conscience.
So yeah, Nene dreaming about somebody.
No, it's because Natasha goes.
Is there somebody special though, Nene?
You see how you always try to throw me under the bus? That's not what I meant. I was laughing at the behind the scenes over here. So a few things that we talk about with soul ties, for instance, that we do not notice. Dreaming. When you dream of a person constantly, when you obsess over a person constantly, and when you have like this attachment to a person, like you actually need them to be able to survive, that's another type of soul tie.
But let's talk about that for a little bit.
Okay.
Because up to when is that what is that thing? Because there's a thin line there of you being a creep and then you having a soul tie to somebody.
Well, I feel like you just have put yourself in the position where you're thinking all the time of this person. You want them near you. You want to be able to feel them and to have them with you. I feel like that creates a soul tie. I feel like that creates like this connection.
That's what I'm saying, because there's creeps out there that they like y'all have known about stalkers.
Right.
All right, so to when that point, I know, yeah, some people said amen here, but to when you know when it's a soul, because a soul tie, I'm guessing is something good.
It could
from
be,
what it sounds like.
No, a soul tie can be positive or negative.
Oh, okay.
Because you can use it. It's like in every context. You have a positive soul tie with someone that I want to, like you said it earlier, like it could be kind of like your soulmate. Like you feel like, wow, like this person can go on for hours talking to them. With this person, I can go days without feeling some type of way. Like, you know, like I can actually be myself with this person, and we vibe mentally, emotionally, physically. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like I was saying earlier, when we sit in a room together, we don't have to say words because we understand each other to that level.
Oh, I do get that, because like even between us, we could walk in a room and we could have a whole conversation just by looking at each other. Be like, yo, this guy is bugging. Like,
no, and it's true because, for example, I was reading on this whole soul tie thing. It's like, for example, what David and Jonathan had.
Yeah.
You know, from the Bible, they had a soul tie and it came up to the point where, you know, David kind of hooked him up, even though after Jonathan was dead, he hooked up Jonathan's son because they had that soul tie. So really, like you were saying, soul ties is nothing religious. I want to get that clear. It's nothing religious. A soul tie can happen with anybody. It just depends how you act upon it, how you talk about it, things. Like Nini was saying, when you say certain things, you're pretty much tying yourself to certain things. Why do you think there's some people that, for example, that they use mantras? Is why you think mantras are important, because you repeat things and you make it.
What's that? I don't get
mantras. Like, for example, let's say you want to quit alcohol. That's just a very simple example. So you kind of say to yourself, I don't like alcohol. I don't like alcohol. And you just keep repeating it.
Oh, yeah.
So until it becomes a reality. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it is. So like if you have somebody like in any type of relationship, let's say a coworker, and you're always saying negative things, you bring that negative vibe or negative energy, and it also affects how you treat each other. You don't even have to say nothing. Like sometimes just being with somebody, you're already feeling in a bad mood. and maybe that person hasn't said nothing to you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very, very important to know.
It definitely is. It just brings your relationship, and whatever relationship that may be, like, because speaking of relationships, I hate when people always just connotate it as, boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife. We have relationships every day. We have relationships with our coworkers. We have relationships with our friends. We have a relationship with our families. We've said this time and time again, but every relationship has some kind of tie, some kind of pros and cons. I was telling your Savi earlier, there's always withdrawals and deposits that you put into a person. So you can either be at a deficit or you could either be at a surplus. And I know, I'm sorry, a business major over here, but talking about it, it's really necessary because we live in a state where we're always at a deficit. Why? Because we never allow people to give us positive feedback. We don't allow them to be like, yo.
Well, sometimes it's not that we don't allow them. Sometimes we just don't hang around those type of people.
Or that, because
Right,
we could have toxic relationships constantly. Like people that are always like, oh, why do you look like that? Why you have acne?
Yeah, for me, I feel like the problem there is when you don't hang around those type of people. Like I was telling you earlier, there's some certain type of people that drain you. That when you talk to them, when you're close to them, you just feel tired physically and mentally. You just end up tired because those people are. And I think they have a name for that. Energy drainers, I think, maybe.
Well, they're drainers.
Well, they're drainers. So the point is, you end up tired and you end up more, like, for example, the other person's too negative. You end up being negative too because they just drained all the positivity out of you.
Right.
So I think that's why electing who's around you, or selecting, I should say, who's around you is very important, not just be with anybody.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you're always gonna portray, like my mom, like our parents always say, the people who you choose to be around, you're always going to be like that person. So you need to be wise with who it is that's like constantly around you, what they're pouring into you and what they're taking out of you at a constant level. So like I was saying, like if somebody's always stealing your shine and like, yo, like, oh, you fat, oh, you ugly, oh, you don't sing good. And everything is just negative. You're just gonna be like, damn, like
That's what you call a withdrawal, right?
yeah, that's what I call a withdrawal that ends up becoming a deficit in your life. Because think about it, it's like your bank account. If you always have, if you're always putting money into it, that money is gonna go up. That the blessings are gonna go up. The energy is gonna go up. Your vibes is gonna go up. But if you're always taking out, take, and you're allowing people to take, you're gonna be at a withdrawal and at a deficit. When you become at a deficit, that's it. You're at your ultimate low. You're depressed. That's where the depression comes in. That's where the negativity comes in. That's where you're angry all the time. That's when you're not feeling nobody. That's when you want to close the doors on people. And we have to evaluate those type of relationships too. We have to evaluate who we allowing to be a positive or a negative in our lives.
I feel like the solution to that really is finding yourself first, right? And that's something that I feel like we commit that error so many times in so many situations. So like you said, in friendships or in boyfriend and girlfriend couple things, or in marriage even. But we don't find ourselves, so we out here thotting and bopping because we
Taking
feel
my
like
words.
yeah, but because we feel like oh, maybe she's not feeling my need, or in the girl's case, he's not feeling my need. But the thing is, like, it shouldn't be anybody feeling anybody's needs, basically, or wants, technically, because I have to be happy with myself. I gotta be happy with where I'm at in my life, and then we get together and we share that happiness.
Right.
And like I always like to say, like, and of course, you always gotta learn, because you could be married and you could still be learning. Like there's mad stuff that you probably didn't even think about. And it's like a school. Like you go to school, obviously they give you the test at the end, but you gotta go through these whole months of education to get there. But we get into relationships and it's just like, let's just see what happens.
People
basically.
settle, and then that's where I feel where the deficit comes in. Because sometimes you could be in a relationship for years. It could be, we were having this conversation with a group of ladies where people are in relationships 10, 20, 30 years, and you're never happy because there's always this deficit in your life. Like you feel like, oh, he should know already, or she feels like, damn, like, or he feels like, damn, like she don't understand me anyways.
I feel like the first step should always be letting people know how you feeling. Well, especially when you're in a relationship already. But it's better if you look at all these things beforehand. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, obviously, but you got to look at these things beforehand. And then when you're in a relationship, then let that person know, listen, what's up with this? I'm giving and giving and you're not giving nothing back.
But we got to understand, a lot of people have been in relationships for years. Remember what we spoke about. People get into relationships without even knowing, like just for the fact that I'm in a relationship. And I'm not just talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, marriage. Like this could be any type of relationship. You want to talk to somebody, you get in a friendship. You wanna vibe with somebody, you be like, yo, come along with me. And that come along with me, you get along in a context where you always hanging out together and you vibing together. But at the end of the day, y'all go home and y'all don't really know much about each other because it's just a regular outing that you're doing. But people constantly have this idea that, you know, I'm gonna vibe with you because I'm loyal or I'm trustworthy, or like you go off of like one characteristics and you don't get to know. So sometimes you're in a relationship with somebody for years, and instead of saying, you know, yo, I'm not feeling this, I don't like this, I need you to buy me this, I need you to understand that for my birthday I want you to take me out. Mm-hmm. But
that's a problem. There's a lot of people that don't do that. They be like you said, like there be a lot of people that be like, oh, he should know, or oh, she should know.
They settle.
What the heck? I'm gonna know what you thinking in your head, like exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like even in friendships, like we have a group of friends like that we met in school and everything, and we still keep in contact. And that group of friends, sometimes we even had to throw hands together, like with our own boys, because we didn't agree on certain stuff. But at least you aired it out, and obviously we hashed it out at the end, right? But that's what I'm saying. A lot of people in relationships, whether it be whatever type of relationship it is like you don't talk. So you expect me to understand what you're thinking or what you're feeling.
Exactly.
So let's say you do have a problem with me. How am I supposed to know? Like, you gotta let me know, because the thing is that then you start acting different, so it makes me want to act different. Then you start acting shady, so I'm gonna start acting shady. When we could just be like, yo, I really didn't like how you did this, or you did that, or you said this, or you said that, and it becomes and it could be solved right then and there.
But not everybody's like that. And let's put this, because I say this a lot.
It's their fault, though.
It's not, but everyone is built different, yos. Because
not everybody's an alpha male for my people.
Let's not get started with that one. Like I always say, there's a certain group of girls that you can hang out with for a certain amount of time. Because I say that because I have a lot of guy friends, as y'all can tell. I have a lot of guy friends where I've always felt comfortable around guys because I grew up around guys, and I've never had to prove myself to them or have to do anything outside of my natural self to be around them, because they're just, guys are different. We all know what I mean. Guys,
we're so simple. I know what you're trying to say. Like, we're a blessing, and we're the embodiment of what a blessing is.
When
is
it's
what
in
you're trying to
friendships.
say.
When it's in friendship. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm saying, like, it's a different dynamic with guys. You chill, you tell each other, you fight, and then you make up real quick. Girls fight, there's resentment, there's grudges, and then you keep it.
Have you seen that? I don't know if it's a meme or whatever, but like, or it's probably, I saw it like in a show or something, when the girls is just throwing shade at each other, but being like, oh,
passive aggressive.
Like, oh, that's a nice sweater. And then the girl's like,
but it has a hole in it.
No, not even. Like, they just, that's how they attack each other. Like,
I think it was from New Girl.
It probably was from New Girl. And he's like, oh, I like your hair. Like, and I'm like, yo, if these, and then, it wasn't New Girl, because then they started just scrapping, and then everything just solved, everything got better. And I'm not saying fight, right? I don't want nobody to
We're not
fight.
advocating for violence, guys.
Yeah, it becomes that. Well, no, but like, the thing is, if you would just air it out, we're gonna have a bad moment, but it's gonna pass. And it's like what us guys, me and my brother fight a few times every day. But it's just, we get mad, and at the minute later, we all good.
Yeah.
Why girls can't be like that?
I mean, and I'm saying there's girls, there's exceptions that are for girls. Like not every girl is like
That's
that.
true, though.
Some girls are cool. Some girls can. That's just their type of personality where I'm just gonna be like, yo, I'm not feeling it. I don't like how you spoke to me. I don't like how certain things are. I would rather tell you how I'm feeling. I would rather tell you what to buy me. I would rather tell you where to take me so that there's no misunderstanding and I don't get mad and you don't get mad in the process. So, but there's people that aren't like that. Their personalities are just not like that. They didn't grow up with an environment where they can just be like, yo, I'm not feeling this. Like they swallow a lot of things. And that's where these toxic, negative relationships start building. It all starts from the beginning. Like I feel like it all starts from when you're first born, and we did mention that before.
I feel like that's because you say some people are not like that, but I feel like anybody could get to that point. Because if not, you just keep feeling sorry for yourself and you never fix the situation. And like you were saying, you kind of swallow that and you handle that. But like what? Why would you do that to yourself? Why not?
Because they don't know any better.
I know, but all right. But my point, I guess, is then what do these people do that are not naturally like that?
They go to therapy.
Yeah, but a lot of people, and then let's talk about therapy in our culture. Who actually really goes to therapy? Who actually really takes that time and energy to be like, yo,
yeah, people just call you crazy.
They be like, oh, nah, I don't need no medicine, or no, they're just gonna think that I'm crazy. No, it's like an oil change.
You are crazy. Like
no, your car, you take it for an oil change every 3 months. What about a human? You need to be changing up what's going in, because you're bringing in a whole bunch of stuff on a daily basis, not just from one person, but from many people, whoever you're surrounded with. And then at the end of the day, that messes with you, and you need to
you go to
let
therapy?
It go. Yes, I do.
Well, she comes to church.
I come to church and I got my pastor.
You be talking to the pastor?
Let them know.
All the time.
I'm going to check that appointment book and see when was the last time you...
Now, this is the really important question. You know how they say that you have to love yourself in order to love others?
Right.
So if you do not speak out when, you're near or have a toxic relationship like this, does it just mean that you're not loving yourself?
Exactly. It definitely means you don't love yourself. It definitely means you don't put yourself on a high pedestal. It definitely means that you don't care.
So you have a low self-esteem.
Your self-esteem needs to be up there in order for you to be able to voice out, to be able to get out, or to even be able to live within a relationship like this, or look for the help that you need. Because if you constantly in a deficit, honey, boo-boo, you need to go find yourself that positive.
Well, yeah. Because I feel like if you love yourself enough, you want to keep yourself right. Right in every way, health-wise, mentally-wise. You want to keep yourself right. So if you're near a toxic relationship, I feel like the reason you stay in a toxic relationship is because you kind of feel like love for that person. Like, I guess some certain attraction or... there's something bonding you. Maybe that's one of the
a soul tie is a bond.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you have that soul tie, but it's a toxic soul tie.
Maybe it was your first. Maybe it was the first person who ever noticed you and was like, "Damn, you look beautiful," and then it turned into a toxic relationship.
But what I want to say now is, if you're married, you got to deal with it.
Yeah,
pretty much. And we talk about like leaving toxic relationships. If you're married, work on it.
Yeah.
I just want to leave that clear.
No, that's important.
Yeah. But I don't feel like if it's an abusive, toxic relationship,
that's different. If you getting beat, honey boo boo, like Nini would say, go to boxing classes and call 1-800-YOZI. We'll be there. 1-800 HangOut zone. We'll be there.
But if it's an alarming type of situation, like, I would love to get our psychologist people onto the show for our next topic so that they can bring it in, because I am a person that from a young age, you learn how to do you dab into the psychology stuff. The only reason I didn't finish that career was because my teachers were not that great, so I had to keep it moving. But you always dab into some type of counseling constantly, and that's something that, looking around, feeling the environment, talking to people constantly, you develop them. But when you see these people selling themselves like
short.
Selling themselves short. Damn, I couldn't get that.
Usually I'm the one that has a speech problem.
but my thing
is, we got our producer looking at me.
So my thing is if there's people in toxic relationships, you telling me, so there's or like at one point, does it have to be so toxic for a marriage to break? Because I want to just remind you, right? So if you get married, it has to be for life. Now it has its exceptions, I think, right? That's
I think there's exceptions.
Yeah, there is exceptions. Like even biblically, there's exceptions. If the guy, I feel like if the guy leaves you or he cheats on you or something.
I don't really remember that.
I'm not really gonna get into that because I don't really know it specifically. Yeah. But there is exceptions. But there's also things you gotta work on.
Of course, like if you just get mad just because they don't pick up the garbage.
No, I'm talking about real problems. There's real problems that you have to work on, or you gotta adapt to what the person is. Because I can't change 100% who Nini is. Like, let's say me and you is in a relationship. I can't change who you are 100%.
Absolutely not.
There's some things I gotta either like deal with or adapt to.
Right, but I'm not talking about those. Like those, there's little situations that you go through in a relationship where, okay, we have to work on that on ourselves. Like I'm in a bad mood constantly. I got to work on that on my own. But you should have known what kind of crazy you was getting with when you
that's
when you
if
got
you
with
did
the
all
person.
the steps right. Yeah,
you know. But I'm talking about like top notch. Like these,
what?
These are like, okay, like you're getting. We mentioned that like if you're getting beat constantly, if you're getting abused, if you're getting raped, if you're getting things done unwillingly towards you, if you are being emotionally abused, mentally abused, like to the point, I've known relationships where someone was abused to the point where they have Parkinson's disease to this day. Like that type of relationship, type of toxicity, you gotta go. And they tolerated it for years. It wasn't.
You should call the cops on them, to be honest.
Yeah, but what if you can't help someone who doesn't want to get help?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you should. I'm saying the person going through that shit.
Yeah, I feel like you're desahogándote.
No, I'm just saying you can't help someone who doesn't want to get help.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't possibly go be like, yo, you got another bruise in your eye. You got another. But
then that's my thing, because then you should have friends that will have your back in that. Like, I'm not saying you, right? But I'm just saying the person.
But what if they do?
Because
they're just they're so invested. They're so tied to that other person that they cannot leave. Financially, he supports me completely. What do I do?
Yeah.
How am I going to get out? And these are real topics that people really go through. Like, you got to understand, this is real life stuff. It's not like, oh, you know, he didn't want to buy me those shoes, so I had to let him go. No, this is like,
that's mad bougie. Like, imagine they leave you because you ain't buy shoes.
We got all types of people here. We got all types of people on this.
Is that, man? The topics that we're talking about are so important. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know a few people that, well, especially girls in my case. I know a lot of girls that go through this, and it's so. Like, for example, I know a few females that are going through, like, a very tough time. I'm talking about what Nini's talking about, like, maybe not physical abuse, but more like verbal abuse. And, like, it kind of traumatizes them. So it's like, I feel very powerless. You know, not to use the other word. I feel very powerless sometimes because it's like, you can't get in the middle of that sometimes, because you get in the middle and then they both end up hating you and they reconcile.
Right.
So it's like you can't get in the middle sometimes unless there's obviously exceptions to that rule, right?
Like my parents say, like they say this in Spanish. I'm gonna use this phrase. We're gonna try to translate it, but tú nunca puedes meterte en pelea de marido y mujer.
Mm-hmm, yeah, because they're gonna make up and then they both hate you. So it's like sometimes that person needs to take that. Like, for example, you talk to that person, listen, you should call the cops on this guy if he's like abusing you physically. If he's abusing you verbally, like, you know, step up. Not step up, but draw a line. Be like, if you say this to me again, you know, I'm not talking about divorce, but at least get away from there.
Nah, this is something that's on a professional level, and I learned this from Ileana because she's our psychologist / counselor friend. But speaking to her, when there's iffy situations like that, we really can't get involved to that level, giving too much advice, because nowadays everybody gets sued for something or everybody's to blame for something. So you just be like, yo, if you need the help, you got to get all the help you can. I mean, if you're really close and you know what that person is about and you really like have this connection, then by all means, you give them the advice that you want. But there's certain things that you can't cross the line on nowadays. And it's sad because everything is a restriction. Like, damn, I want to speak how I want to speak and I want to talk how I want to talk.
Yeah, everybody gets offended nowadays.
Offended or a lawsuit, and ain't nobody trying to go to jail for somebody else's situation. But then let's go into that. How you're always like there's people that are always constantly stuck in their past in relationships. So you always comparing. That comparing stuff, ladies and gentlemen, that ain't cute. Even when you are in a recent relationship, you cannot be thinking about your ex or thinking about your or comparing like, oh, because it was like this and this and this in that relationship, and now in this one is a little different. You shouldn't even be in this new relationship if you haven't forgotten your past.
Yeah, for all my older people, I think there was an Usher song that he made that he was like, well, I'm not gonna say lyrically, right, but he was like, sometimes I gotta pay for what the other person did.
And that's not fair.
So that's not fair. Like sometimes you want to talk to this person, but this person has so much baggage from the last relationship.
So much soul ties.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with all that craziness. It's like, that's why you gotta be careful who you talk to. First of all, nobody's perfect. We understand that. But also the person needs to be able to let that go. Let them ties go. Untie them.
And if you really need therapy for that, you need to go, sweetie. Because,
and that's totally fine.
Yeah, that ain't nobody gonna classify you, because if you got stuff going on from the past, if you have gifts from your past relationship, if you have thoughts, dreams, letters, anything that you have from past relationships that are tying you to that person, sweetie, I'm telling you, you're doing it wrong. Okay?
Esa brujería.
They got a hold on you. That's another type of soul tie. Like, I would never love you like I would never love another woman like I loved you. What?
Right,
Excuse me?
I feel like I gotta step in, let these single people aside. Sometimes you gotta deal with it. Sometimes you gotta be the cure to their sickness, I feel.
Well, yeah, if the other person lets you.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know about that.
But you have to. Sometimes you have to be the other person's cure.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Yeah, because if you're expecting, this is what the girl, like, let's say it's the girl's only relationship. That's all she knows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not her fault or his fault.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But it's not their fault that you had all those many past relationships and you're comparing.
But that's all she knows. You get what I'm saying?
No, I need you to elaborate.
For example, you never had a boyfriend before. Mm-hmm. We're not counting the old one.
I never had a boyfriend. What is wrong with you?
All right, so you never had a boyfriend.
Why we always gotta throw my relationship in here?
So all right, you get a boyfriend. He's cute. He's just fit. Because now we know you like fit, right?
Guys, let's just roll with it. Roll with Yosef.
So you get a boyfriend. Then he makes your life miserable, basically. Right?
Wait, who makes me miserable?
This fit guy.
Nuh-uh. I ain't
Wait, just hear it out. Because you're seeing it from your perspective. And first of all, you don't know how you would act because you haven't been in a relationship.
Sweetie, I know
you
who I am.
don't know how you would act, though.
My
thing is this. You get a boyfriend, and then he makes your life a living hell. Mm-hmm. No, it's a living hell, yeah. Because he makes your life a living hell. And he destroys everything that you thought a relationship was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But now this is the only type of relationship you know. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is a toxic relationship already.
Oh my God. You're not going to know it's a toxic relationship if it's your first relationship.
But that's what maybe when I was 17.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
your first boy. If I'm saying it's your first boy, a lot of people have first boyfriends at a young age.
Right, but
they don't know nothing. You're talking about from your point of view that you're older, you're wiser, and you've heard stories around you.
Yeah, you wouldn't let that happen.
Exactly.
In this case, yeah.
Like for example, if you had something, we would know because you talk to us about everything.
Right.
But we would know. But I'm saying another young lady comes in. This is all she knows. And then, it's like if you were born into a family of drunks, let's say. Mm-hmm. That's all she knows. All he knows. So he's bound to be a drinker too. Because that's all he knows. So that's what I'm saying. If you come and a guy comes into a girl's life at a young age, he messes up her perception of what a relationship has to be. That's all she knows. So sometimes you have to be the cure to her sickness.
But what if you're not? What if you're always gonna pour into the negativity? That's totally different, because that's what happens though. That's kind of going off of what we were saying earlier with the toxic relationship. That's just a toxic relationship. I'm talking about you've been with y'all have had previous relationships.
Not at all.
Y'all have had many previous relationships.
All right.
Yeah, you don't have to throw the many there.
No, because y'all want to be like, you never had a
Yeah, stop generalizing.
All right, I'm sorry, you're savvy. I got to.
It is what it is.
I'm the only girl on this table. Let's just clarify that, because
not in the room.
They're the sharks and I got to be the dolphin, okay? So, going off of that, like, y'all been in many different relationships.
Yes.
As you were younger and growing up, there was some relationships that were better than others.
Mm-hmm.
There was some comparisons that y'all did that were better than others. Now, you can say that you compared a lot because you're married.
Yeah.
You can say that you compared a lot during the years. That's what I'm trying to talk about. But you had to learn to adapt to the new pareja, to the new partner that you were with, whether there was something that you liked or not. But you can't constantly keep bringing up
once you're in a relationship,
A, B, and C from your past relationships.
But the comparison is good sometimes, because you realize, I mean, this is not the best way to find out what you don't like, right? But you realize what you don't like, or what you're not willing to put up with, if that makes any sense.
Elaborate so the people.
Tú necesitas mucha aplicación, Nini.
Bueno, usted no le gusta dar mucha.
All right, let's go. So, for example, let's say I didn't. I don't want to put personal examples because it might.
A, B, and C. You better just use A, B, and C.
All right, let's say A, right? Mm-hmm. A comes into my life. I find out that I don't like a girl that thinks she got it all.
Okay.
Or that she's all that. I don't know how. Either one, right? But I had to go through that relationship to find out I didn't want that. And that's because that's the thing. That's a mistake we make. The boyfriend and girlfriend stage is to figure out, obviously, if you don't include the sex, right? But is to figure out if I'm willing to put up with this person, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, how we said before, you kind of have to do that in the friendship stage as well. Mm-hmm. But in the boyfriend and girlfriend stage, you have more intimacy, I guess you can say, without sexual things, right?
It's more personal.
But it's more personal and everything. So you kind of know the person a little more. So, for example, that's the time to say, okay, I'm not with it because this girl's crazy or this guy's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had anger issues my whole life. You know what I'm saying?
We concur.
We don't have to, you don't got to shake your head that hard. But I've had anger issues my whole life, and there was there was a lot of girls, at least, damn, it sounds bad, but there's a lot of girls that actually put up with it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for some reason they were with it, right? But maybe there was a lot of girls that weren't with it. Mm-hmm. So they had to figure it out first. Mm-hmm. They're like, because this guy is cute, you know me. And then
wow, humildemente hashtag.
No, but you say, but he's not worth it because of the anger. Mm-hmm. For just putting an example, right? Mm-hmm. Even because I did have an anger issue, but that's my thing. So then sometimes you got to go through this, and you do have to compare, because maybe you have some of the same symptoms of what he had or she had, right? So I have to compare. Sometimes you do have to compare. I feel like once you're married, that's my thing. Once you're married, you're married. That's way different, right? But
let me tell y'all, marriage means when you consummate. How many people have people consummated with?
That's another topic, yeah. That's why I said without sex. The boyfriend and girlfriend stage without sex.
Like, people consummate a few times in their lifetime.
No, but the thing is, I have heard before, like before this whole soul tie word, this is the first time I heard it.
Yeah, that's new.
But the thing is, that when you have sex, you do kind of take a part or you leave a part of your
spirit.
Yeah, so it's like, again, this is not spiritualizing or religious, but it's something that happens. Your energies, let's call it energies for God's.
Uh-uh.
Okay, your spirit. So then that's when you like the more you have this, that's why it kind of is unhealthy to have a lot of sexual partners, because you kind of bring in all that baggage with you.
That's right.
And you know, that's not healthy. So if you notice, that's why, you know, it's hard to be happy. Maybe you're happy for the
first few months,
for the 10-20 minutes that whatever sex lasts, but you're always unsatisfied because you're carrying all this baggage from everybody.
And when I mean baggage, like, okay, you know how Yosef said he was angry for a long time. Say you were in a relationship with someone who's angry. You had sex. You bring a little bit of that anger into your life. Then you go with somebody who's always happy. Then you bring a little bit of that happiness of that person, but you still have the anger part. Then you go with somebody who's bipolar, and then you have those kind of tendencies too. Then you have somebody who has anxiety, and then you bring that onto you. Like, you know, it depends how many multiple partners you've had that tie into you, or how many connections, because again, we said it's not only sex. If I'm speaking to a person, let's say like your Savi, you know, where he's educating me on music, he's educating me on certain beliefs that he has, then I'm speaking to Yosef and he's educating me on something. You know, you're gonna have a little bit of everything. Michelle, Natasha, we have all these people that pour in a little bit into us, and we're tied into whatever it is that they're thinking, because we're vibing with them, or we're having, like, we feel like that connection, that energy, that whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, you know, you're sitting here and you're just like, damn, but how can I go about this? If you're a person with no personality, where everything just you feed
kind of consume everything.
Yeah, you consume everything. You're gonna go with whoever you're talking to. That you're going with that idea. Like, yes, I agree with you with that because you made a valid point. And that's saying you're never gonna investigate for yourself. The same as for relationships. Like, you're just gonna either take, or you're gonna deposit into other people and not be mindful and just be either toxic, negative, or positive in whatever way you grasp it. I don't know if I'm making myself a little clear here.
So, Lenny, how would somebody go about? They find somebody they really like, they really attracted to physically, emotionally, and whatnot. But this person does bring all this baggage. What do they do then? Because you're basically what is being said is like, oh, if they have baggage, don't deal with it.
It's not don't deal with it.
That's what I'm saying. So explain.
I just feel like you have to find the right. First, you need to find the right advisors. You need to find the right counseling for these people, because you can't change a person. Like we've said before, you can have all those great qualities, and like I've said in other podcasts, I guess the previous one or the Spanish one that we did, but if you don't work on yourself, you're never going to flourish in a relationship. It's like everything. You have to work on it. So if you see, these are red flags. These are things that are deal breakers, like we were saying before. If I know that I can't tolerate you're crazy, we're going to either work on it. If I really feel like, damn, there's this 99.9 that we could really make it work, or we're going to leave it there because
But that's my thing, because my thing is, when do you draw the line? When do you draw the line? Because there's a lot of girls, and I say it because that's, you know, girls I know more experience of. But a lot of girls come and they want to, besides the want to fix the person, but they say they're you know, there's girls that be like,
I'm willing to work
they
on
said
it
with me. They said you know, I'm willing to work on it with him. To maybe, you know, he's gonna be able to change and maybe come out of that. But what do you like? Where do you draw that line? Because you said, you know, if you really do like the person, then you have to work on it, which I agree, right? You do have to work on it. But where do you draw that line to where it's too much already, where it becomes almost, you know, it comes close to becoming toxic? Yeah.
I feel, for me, I'm going to speak for myself because I can't generalize it. Every woman has their own security and has their own way of thinking things. For me, if I see too many red flags, for me, if I see too many no's in that person, like you got a lot of cons instead of pros, we can't make it work, because I've already seen what you're about. And that's, again, this is going to sound redundant, but that's where the friendship stage comes. That's where bringing the families together. That, like, I'm a family person. If you can't vibe with my family, that's a red flag. If you can't vibe with my friends, that's a red flag, because I've had my friends for more than 10 plus years, and this is family already to me. If you insecure about yourself, that every time we gotta go out, I don't want to go because you have too many people and they look good and they smell good and all. No, like that's a red flag, because it's just like, what? Like, I'm constantly surrounded by people, and not saying it in a cocky way. Like, I have big groups of friends and family that I've been around with for a really long time. If we're in traffic, like, you have to notice a person's move everywhere. If we're in traffic and you screaming and yelling at the person and going berserk and wanting to fight everybody, that's a red flag for me, because it's just like, no, you're taking away my peace. So every person has a different way of analyzing who they're going to stay with and who they're going to give a chance to, but there's always that thin line where it's just like, nah, like, you're giving me too many red flags, or okay, we can deal with that because it's not that crazy.
So you keep count of the red flags is like basically what
I guess so. I guess it's not a count.
Because you gotta like weigh it out.
But you gotta weigh it out. There's like the pros and cons. Like okay, before I'm in this relationship wholeheartedly, I need to know that you're in this for real. I need to know that you're giving me mental, emotional, physical security. I need to know that you're good, because I feel like I'm good. Like, I'm working on myself every day. And if there's something that's alerting from myself, I need to push myself away. Like, if I see that you're bringing an ugly side to me that I never wanted to bring to the relationship, I need to know when to withdraw myself. But that's not everybody's case. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody has a different perspective. Not everybody has been exposed to many relationships, whether friendships, whether boyfriend and girlfriend, whether co-workers. Like, some people have lived a very sheltered life, and I understand that as well. Not everybody's street smart. Not everybody's book smart. You know, a lot play into this. Like, you have to have a little bit of each little section. For me, I'm not saying this needs to go for everybody else. I'm just saying, if I'm going to go into a relationship full blown, I know that I've been working on myself for years. There's a lot that I still have to work on. But if you're able to deal with what is still pending, okay. And if I'm willing to work on whatever is still pending from you, hey, we got our people. If my friends give it the okay, if my pastors give it the okay, if my family gives it the okay, we're going to the right circle. And the same for your people, if they feel the same way for me. Like, I don't want this to be all discombobulated. No, this for me needs to be like a complete agreement.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, in the Hangout Zone. If you're interested, please call 1-800.
Don't listen to him.
No?
No.
I think in conclusion, what we have to do is really look into ourselves, analyze ourselves, know what kind of irks our nerves, have that clear. So when you find somebody, it doesn't kind of crash into what we think or what we tolerate or what we don't tolerate. Because there is always, even though with all this analyzing and with all this looking at, there's always still going to be issues, that we don't know about until after we're in a relationship. So I think it's all about knowing yourself, knowing how to control your emotions so your emotions don't control you. And then be also mindful of who you around with. Because, again, we're not speaking about only love relationships. We're speaking about, co-workers, people that you go to study with maybe. Maybe they are not the best for you because they drain you. They exhaust you. They take kind of that good energy away from you. So surround yourself as much as possible. Sometimes we can't help it because sometimes our same family is the one that drains us. So sometimes you got to, deal with it and control your emotions. I think that's pretty much the best thing you could do for yourself. So when you...
And retreat yourself.
Yeah, kind of retreat yourself from as much as you can from people that are not, how you call that when they putting into...
Positive.
They kind of invest in you good things instead of only negativity. Nobody's perfect. We know that. We're not perfect. But what we do want is to do things as best as possible. So, we're saying till next time from El Hangout Zone.